There's a super easy way to sew in a regular zipper, and it's using a center technique that is so easy. You use it right in a seam and it ends up being right in the center there. It's very fast, very easy, very neat, and I prefer this over an invisible zipper any day. Let's see how to sew it. Easy peasy. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have a technique video for you. It is a general technique. This can work with any pattern, so I've decided to do it as a standalone video. My channel is quite a few years old and I have shown this here and there in the past, but the standard of filming and editing wasn't up to par. You can do it really fast and easy when you're making a test garment for a pair of pants, a pair of jeans. You don't have to do the whole jean zipper fly type situation on a test garment. I've just done a simple zipper insertion, no zipper fly. You know, all you need to do is pull it up when you do a muslin. You can just use a center zipper insertion, sew in a quick zipper like this, and it allows you to pull up the pants and check for the fit. In that case, this would take about 30 seconds. I wouldn't hand baste, nothing like that. But I also wanted to let you know what the Feature Friday pattern at Love Notions is, and it's the Tranquil pajamas. I've made two of these. The first one I made was a rayon spandex polka dot. Gorgeous. I used red trim all over to highlight the features. So pretty. I have a tutorial showing you how I did all that here on the channel. And then the second time I made this, I didn't make it as pajamas, I made it as outerwear. I used the pants to make these sport pants made out in like a camo athletic knit. They're just really versatile. They're not pajamas. And the top, I used a sweater knit that is super pretty. I used the black binding there to contrast the dark red burgundy color of the sweater knit. And that is also outerwear. So pattern can take you a long way, not just pajamas, but you can also make regular clothes, and I think it's really cool. Find all the links of the videos I made about the Tranquil down below, as well as my affiliate link, and it's only $5 today. Remember to use my code LPN10 for an extra 10% off if you want to use that. Back to the zipper. I have used this for pants. Usually for pants, it's either on a hip or the center back. I wouldn't use it on the front. And for skirts, it's the same thing. I've used it for fitted sheath dresses where you have it down here on the center back. That's very easy and it's long, but the technique is exactly the same. What I film now is part of the construction of a garment you'll see very soon. I filmed it in a lot of nice detail so that you can have it here on the channel as a resource. This is not an invisible zipper. This is a regular nylon zipper with teeth. The technique would also work if you had a zipper with metal teeth. It would be absolutely the same thing. In this case, you would just see a regular zipper with plastic teeth. The way you finish at the top of the zipper is going to be the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're going to sew a facing in there afterwards, or you're going to have a waistband or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't change anything. What you're not going to see here is how to add lining after the zipper's in. That's just something different, not related to the zipper technique. We're just going to see the zipper technique. That is all. It's very easy and fast. Once you get used to it, you can have beautiful results, and I use this all the time. I'd say for 99% of projects that have a centered zipper insertion, you're going to be pressing those seams open. You're never going to have them together. So a good idea before sewing in the zipper is to serge these edges. It's just easier to do it now than doing it later when the zipper is already in, so make sure you don't forget that. So I'm just going to go ahead and serge this, making sure I don't snip anything here with the serger when I go around this little shape there. Usually a center zipper will be on a straight seam like this one on the center back. Occasionally you'll see it on a hip as well, but you always have an excess of seam allowance there. This dot is important, and it's usually in reference to the length of the zipper right here. Now I have an issue with this zipper because mine is a little shorter than what is in the pattern, but I know that I can still get in to the skirt with this length of zipper. So I'm just going to move my dot up a little higher so that it ends up a little above that zipper stop. If I had a longer zipper, then I would make it longer, but it won't change the technique at all or the look. From the top of the waist down to this dot, I'm just going to sew with a long stitch length. It'll be a basting stitch that will be removed later. I'm going to reinforce there, and then from here down to the bottom, I'm going to sew with a regular stitch length. This pattern uses 1/2 inch seam allowance everywhere, so in this point it'll be 1/2 inch. But you can see how it goes a little wider in this area. And I also like to interface this area where the zipper is going to be beforehand as well, just to give the area a bit more stability, just to have a stronger, heavier area on the fabric for the zipper to be on. It'll also look smoother in my opinion. So let's just get that basting stitch done there, reinforce, and then keep going all the way down, and then we can press the seam open. This is where I'm going to reinforce. Okay, now we're going to press this open. The seam is nicely pressed and flat. Now that little line that you see there is just so that I know where I changed the stitch length over here. I can clearly see where I reinforced, where my dot was, and that here onwards it's the basting stitch. If I poke a pin exactly on that stitch, comes out on the other side, on the right side of the skirt, I know exactly where that is, and that's where I drew that little line so that I can know. And now I know that my zipper stop has to finish a little beyond that area. Once I have the stop positioned where I want it to be, I'm just going to put a pin to hold it there through all the layers. And I know that it's going to be below that line. And now I'm going to flip everything to this side. And now it's super easy to feel where these zipper teeth are. You can see the sort of texture that you get here. It's hard, it's plastic. And I want these centered right over that seam right there. So I'm going to put a few pins here, holding the zipper tape in place, going through all the layers right there. You can see clearly where the seam is and how the zipper tape is going to be right in the middle. This is why having this area interfaced makes this process so much easier. And this zipper is so easy to sew. You can sew this in a couple of minutes. It's not stressful at all. If you were sewing this on the center back of a skirt, it would be the same thing. It's just that the zipper is longer. So this would be the center back of a dress, for example, or a blouse. It's just that this would extend, 40, 50 centimeters, 18, 20 inches. If I wanted to put this on the back of a pair of pants, I could do the exact same thing. You just finish off there having a curve for the crotch, but the technique would still remain the same. I know a lot of people would just get the zipper, press the foot, and sew right now using pins only, but I prefer to baste this in. Whenever you use pins, the fabric folds underneath and it doesn't end up exactly really smooth, so I would prefer to baste on both sides by hand and then work without the pins. There's a way that a lot of people sew this, and I used to sew it like that in the past, which is continuous. So you put your zipper presser foot there, and then you sew here at the mark, you pivot, you go across, you sew on top of the plastic zipper teeth. Nothing's going to happen to your needle. You pivot and then you go back up this way. Why I've changed that is because it doesn't end up being even. I think the presser foot does push this fabric along, and then it just does not end up looking even to sew in different directions. So what I would like to do instead is sew down, pivot, go across the teeth and finish there. Leave some threads hanging that I can knot at the back, and then start again on this side with the other side of the zipper presser foot and sew down until I get to that point. Leave some threads, knot it back, growing from the waist down, going from the waist down, and I think that turns out looking better. This is especially important if you're sewing a longer zipper, for example on a dress and you have a bodice seam across here. If you try to sew it continuously, it's going to be harder to match the seam. So now over time I've changed my ways to sew from the top down on both sides. What I have here is a zipper presser foot. This one has the ability to clip onto here on either side. It just depends on what access you need. So this edge right here is the one that's going to go right on top of that seam. Up here where the pull is, it's inevitable that you're going to sew a little larger, but once you get past this, then it'll be right there. You can see the edge of my presser foot going right along top of the seam right there. Pivot, and I'm going to sew right across on top of the plastic zipper teeth. I'm going to just leave the threads and knot it at the back. I wanted to show you that because we have the zipper pull and bulk, it's impossible to get that close to the seam on the top area. So it's a little wider, but once you get past this, then it can go narrower like that. One way to avoid this is to always use a longer zipper than what you need, because then this can be up here free and you would just have the regular zipper tape up to there, and then you can trim off at the end. I would have done that and I would have preferred that. It's just that I didn't have any zippers at the moment right now. So now that we've sewn down one of the sides and sewn across and reinforced, I just have to change the positioning of the presser foot to the other side so that I have clear access on this side, and I'll just repeat the same and sew all the way up to there. And again, I have this edge of the presser foot touching the seam here. And that's the other side sewn, and then I'm just going to push this thread to the back and knot it. After getting this little detail done at the bottom, we can just open up the basting stitch that we had at the beginning, and that'll reveal the zipper in there and it'll be centered. I'm just going to whip out these basting stitches. I will always do basting stitches. It's very rare that I'll do a zipper without them. Very, very rare. So now that that's out of the way, we had marked that little line. That means if I go in here and grab that first stitch, it'll all be a basting stitch from here on upwards. Long stitch length, and it'll be easy to remove. And there we have it, a centered zipper insertion. Easy peasy, can take you like a minute to do. This little fold here is going to cover the zipper teeth, so the fact that it's black is not going to be super visible. I wouldn't have added on a red zipper or a white one. That's so highly contrasting in color, but this being a dark purple and this being a black zipper is okay. And now depends on what you want. If this is the top of a skirt that has a waistband or pants, then you would sew in right there. Otherwise, this could be also finished with a facing that finishes here and then gets folded in like that. Whatever the case, the technique for the zipper doesn't change. And this little mark will come out with the iron. It's neat on that side. That's how it looks like here. And it's a very easy technique. That's why I love it so much. And these zippers tend to last longer than invisible zippers. That's why I prefer them. I hope this is helpful. You can refer back to this whenever you're going to sew a zipper like this. And always remember, when you're looking for topics on my channel, it's as easy as you typing in the search area on YouTube. Even if you just type lifting pins and then the topic you want, my video is going to show up, because I always make sure to use the keywords in the description and the title, so it's always easy to find. So whatever you're looking for, if you just type lifting pins and then whatever you're looking for, you're going to find it, because there's so much to see on this channel about sewing. Make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications so you never miss out when I upload helpful videos, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!